Isn't that good?
Is there a Wookiee in here?
Welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Hey guys, so today we're talking about volume pedals and how cool they can be and where you place them in your signal path. Now, I get asked about this all the time. It's a pretty fundamental thing. It's knowing a little bit about gain structure and how that affects everything around it. So today we're using the little Morley volume pedal. It's very similar to the big one. It's just a really small footprint. Lots of small footprint pedals coming out lately, Mick.
I wonder if that's because people have smaller feet?
Maybe. Yeah, okay. So, volume pedals. The basic idea of a volume pedal is it reacts like a volume pot on your guitar.
I've got a question right off the bat about this,
go.
because I get asked this all the time. So if your guitar is connected directly to the input of a volume pedal,
Yes.
presumably the value of the pot in there makes a huge difference to how it sounds?
It makes a huge difference, but it depends on the volume pedal.
Okay.
Two basic types of volume pedals.
Yep.
Active and passive. Okay? So, the passive is basically the pot from your guitar in a box that you control with your feet. No electronics. It's all just done
Passive
passively.
meaning no battery.
No battery, no active electronics. There's no buffer. So, the passive ones, they can be great, especially if you're placing them after effects in your signal path. But if you're using them as the main input for your guitar, you can run into problems with them. Simple reason being, your pot potentiometer here is a variable resistor and has a resistance. Okay, so generally in a Les Paul guitar, any guitar with humbuckers, you have a 500k pot, and in Strats you have a 250k pot.
Kilo ohms,
Kilo ohms, exactly.
not kilo whales.
Yeah,
so
okay. Moving right along. So
It's been a long week.
that is a measurement of resistance to ground. Basically, it's like a little earth bleed. So what happens with a passive volume pedal, if you put that pot in a pedal directly after your guitar, you're connecting that resistance in parallel. So you end up, if you put for example, if I get a 500k pot in the volume pedal and a 500k pot here, they're in parallel. So you halve the resistance, you get 250k resistance to ground. You might think, well, halve the resistance. Actually, the less resistance to ground, the more top end you lose.
Yeah, the more
right?
you lose.
Exactly.
Plus, you're adding the cable to that as well.
Exactly. So you have a capacitance. So capacitor before the resistance, and it can end up being like a filter.
So essentially, by having a passive volume pedal on the floor, you're essentially just putting another volume pot in your guitar, basically,
Exactly.
aren't you? And it's going to have the same effect as if you turn the volume pot up and down on your guitar.
Exactly. Now, this is an active volume pedal. Now, what that means is it has a little buffer amplifier inside it, so it doesn't give you the same issues as a passive volume pedal.
Yep.
But then you have all the active electronics in there that you have to consider when you're putting it in your rig. There really is no easy way to work it which is best for you. Of course, you need to try out which one you like, because passive volume pedals have a feel all of their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. But today we're using an active one, specifically to show you, how they work and where best placed in your signal path. So, 3 basic positions. Okay, the first position we're going to look at. The first position we're going to look at is we're going to look at having the volume pedal at the very end of your signal path. Now, I have this volume pedal in the volume insert loop in G2. With the new software, I can actually move that position per bank. All right, so in this bank here, we're going to have the volume pedal right at the very end of the chain.
So it's going through all of the other effects, and
it'll
the
go
last
through
thing...
anything that's turned on here, any lights, and then after that we'll have the volume pedal. So, we're going to hear, we just have a delay and reverb in there for now, okay? You hear the trail. Now, with the volume pedal right at the very end of the trail. And normally I wouldn't use that much reverb, but this is accentuated to show you how it works. Okay, so we have the trail with the volume pedal at the end. We actually get rid of any trails.
Because it's acting as a master volume over everything in the chain.
Okay, then there's nothing left. It's the same if you have an overdrive in there. Again, it will act. Just as a master volume.
That sounds nice. Are we using both of these amps?
Yeah, both of the amps. That's awesome.
That sounds fantastic. So just for the good folks at home, this is a Marshall JTM 45 clone.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and this is Lazy JJ20,
Yeah.
which is essentially a 6L6
Tweed. Deluxe. Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the best of both worlds here. We've got a Fender type amp and a Marshall type amp. We've mixed the two of them. That's what you're hearing.
We are going to do a show specifically on mixing amplifiers.
Maybe this afternoon.
I think maybe. But, you know, we'll get more into that later. It's
Yeah.
such a great thing to do. So anyway, volume pedal after the end of everything, it just cuts everything off. It's a master volume for your whole kit and caboodle.
And the point of that is it's not affecting anything in the front end. So it's not affecting any gain structure. It's not affecting anything else other than controlling the volume right at the end.
Exactly.
So if, for example, you like to play with a very heavily distorted sound and you don't want to roll the gain off, you want just the same sound but you want it louder and quieter, a good place for your volume pedal is on the end.
So you have a go. So I'll kick you in. So now when I use the volume pedal, you'll see it won't change the sound, it will just change the level.
Yeah.
Okay. Very useful if you're in a band with a girl singer, for example.
Just to qualify that remark, it sometimes happens that girl singers in bands moan about how loud the guitar is. Does that happen sometimes?
It happens sometimes. Actually, I've been in loads of bands with girl singers. There's one band I was in Australia with a girl called Simone who just loved loud guitars. It was awesome. And apparently...
You got her number?
Yes, I'll give you her fax details. Apparently, Bonnie Tyler loves loud guitars.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
No, it's brilliant.
Anyway, we
digress. So we digress. So that is the volume pedal at the end of the chain. Next, I'm going to change banks here. Go to bank 2. This. Volume pedal is turned down, you still get the spillover, the reverb trails, really nice. But
just to explain that, so the signal is hitting the volume pedal. It goes through the volume pedal. It gets delivered fully to the reverb and the delay.
Exactly.
And then when you take it off, because the signal has already hit the reverb and delay, you can still hear the trails. So you're not hearing the initial pick attack anymore, but you are hearing what's still in the reverb and the delay.
Here we go. Where this is positioned is before the delay and reverb, but this is after the overdrive.
Right.
Okay, so what we get here...
I see what's coming next.
You see this? Right, so we get this amazing overdrive sound. Be a long one. However, because it's after the overdrive, it is still a master volume for the overdrive.
Sorry, we have to wait for the trails to go. Otherwise, if we fade the room mic back in, all you'll hear is a really loud trails, and it will give you a poor idea of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
So,
But so you hear then the actual sound of the overdrive doesn't change. It's the level that changes with the overdrive.
yeah. Well, first up, that pedal, which is the JHS Angry Charlie, by the way, into these amps, both of these amps, that just sounds
It's
phenomenal.
spectacular, isn't it?
So, okay, moving on. Right. So we are going overdrive pedal, volume,
Delay
and reverb. So
Exactly.
the volume pedal is in the middle
Exactly.
at this point.
Yep.
Wow.
So if you're, it's a great way of, having the trails is really nice, but having a complete master volume on the gain section is great. It won't change the sound. It'll just, if you're playing, the girl singer turns around, looks at you, just back off a little bit. No, it wasn't me.
Just to make sure you get paid.
Exactly.
Sorry, girl singers, by the way. But,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe get some earplugs. No. Actually, I've been in plenty of bands with male singers that have been exactly the same. The guitars are too loud.
Okay. Oh.
Maybe we could just offend all singers.
Could we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they should use in-ears. If they used in-ears, a lot of the problem would go away.
Oh, yeah, but in ears they don't rock, Mick. I've tried in ears, and you're just like, it just doesn't rock. I want to feel the ants sort of.
Singers,
Anyway.
though, all they want to hear is themselves. So
There you go.
Perfect.
Well, there you go. In ears for singers.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway, moving on.
Problem solved.
Okay, so we've done volume right at the end of the chain. We've
Yep.
then moved it back into the middle, and can I guess what's coming next?
Yes, you can. So now I'm going to change bank to bank number 3, and we're going to have a look at volume before the overdrive. So yes, we've done at the end and the middle, and so here is the volume going into the overdrive pedal. So,
Hang on, I'm just going to explain what Dan did there. So right at the end of that phrase, the trails were going on and on and on and on, and would have gone on forever, but he actually physically turned the reverb off.
I did.
Because otherwise we'd be waiting another 20 seconds before we could start talking.
Exactly. So what is happening there is that the volume pedal is going into the overdrive pedal, okay? And as we reduce the level of input going to the overdrive pedal, it cleans up the overdrive pedal. It does affect the volume as well, but there's a difference between having like a master volume or the gain. You can hear that the sound changed. It went cleaner, which is what happens when you back the volume off on your guitar.
Okay, so what I'm already seeing is that everyone watching this is going to want a volume pedal here and a volume pedal there, but here, shameless plug for G2 coming up, that enables you to put it wherever you want it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool.
It's very cool. It's really handy. Gain structure, which is something else that we'll get into later, it is a fundamental part of getting your tone together. So, have Schwang, have a play. I'll ride the volume pedal, and you just you.
Super jangly chords.
Yep.
And then when you want to give it some
It's great, isn't it?
that, do you know what? I've never used a volume pedal. Well, I have tried to use a volume pedal, but only because I was trying to kind of, do those
Sure.
things. But it's a whole new level of expression,
Yeah.
which, wow, that's
So yeah, but you can see there's an application for wherever you want. I like it at the front because you get that expressive quality. But yeah, volume pedals, very cool. And hopefully that answers your question as to where you put them in your chain.
Yeah, let's have a quick recap. So let's say you've got the basic effects on your board of overdrive and some sort of modulation or reverb or delay. We're talking about three basic positions. Volume pedal right on the end means it's a master volume for everything.
Yep.
Volume pedal between overdrive and delay or reverb means it doesn't affect how the overdrive works. It effectively becomes a master volume for the overdrive.
Exactly.
But leaves your trails and everything to hang.
yes.
And volume pedal right at the beginning means that it affects the gain of your overdrive pedal because you're reducing the signal into the overdrive pedal.
Perfect.
Three basic positions.
Perfect.
I like this.
Very good.
Great.
There you go, guys. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next week.
Next week.